Have you ever had a season where everybody else thought that you were doing great? You was doing amazing work. Your lessons were top notch. The students loved everything that you were doing. You were leading in the school. Everything seemed like it was wonderful, but nobody understood what you were really going through behind closed doors, the high blood pressure, the stress, all the things that you had to manage was carrying weight on your health, on your mind, on your body. The biblical principle of Proverbs 4 and 23 says, above all else, guard your heart. What does that really mean? Does that mean you wait until the season is completely over and in the summertime, that is your moment to do it? Does it mean that once everything is completely done, that is when you, above all else, guard your heart? What does that biblical principle look like when your entire job requires so much from you and of you, and you feel like you're working beyond your capacity? Sometimes being a good educator looks like you working beyond your capacity. It looks like people clapping for you because you're staying late. It looks like everybody asking you, can you do this thing because you're so good at it? And you always saying yes. It's you taking on just one more responsibility. You're dedicated, you're reliable, people can connect with you, you help them at every moment and every chance that you can get. Nevertheless, it is causing you to work beyond your capacity. Now, let's talk about what happened once you got home. Once you got home, family got the scraps, you got the scraps of yourself, health got your scraps, and then your relationships. It's like nothing was left for your personal and intimate relationships once you got home. So everything starts flowing into your personal life, your health, your relationships. When did being needed become part of how you realize whether or not you were doing good? When did that become the measurement of how good you were doing? When people are pulling at you, when people are asking questions, when people are saying, I need you. When did that become the standard for whether or not you were doing a good job? And see what happens with that is it makes you fall down this trap where you're always working beyond your capacity. People are always asking you these questions, and you start to believe that excellence means I got to stretch myself thin. You believe that excellence means you got to stretch beyond your capacity, when in fact we look at Proverbs 4 and 23, and it strictly says, above all else, guard your heart. Now, the question is, what does it mean to guard your heart? But first, we can say, what does it mean above all else? What does that even mean? So maybe previously you have heard the scripture, you've heard this biblical principle, and you looked at guarding your heart as building a wall. Guarding your heart does not mean a wall. I want you to think about, a security guard. A security guard, what do? They allow some things in, they allow some things out. Now, let me speak to my science teachers. If you understand the cell membrane of the cell, right? The cell membrane is semi-permeable. It allows some things in, allows some things out. I want to allow carbs and protein and energy. I want to allow those things into the body cells, but you want to let the toxins and all the waste and the things that you no longer need to come out. So it's not a wall. You're not building a wall, because you got to be careful. If you start building a wall and believing that you are guarding, you will start to build a heart. You will start to have this hatred for people. You will start to regret your purpose. But when you are just guarding it, you are being a little bit more vigilant about what's happening. You are being careful. You are being aware. You are noticing what people are asking. You are noticing your capacity. You're noticing your health. Have discernment for what you're supposed to be doing in the season. So that lets you know whether you need to give a yes or a no in this season, whether you can take on another responsibility. So guarding your heart don't always mean, well, you need to guard your heart from love and personal relationships and build this wall and have this rock, stony heart and hold on to hurt and pain. It also means that while you're in the education system, you have to guard your heart. You got to guard your heart, because everything that you do is going to flow from your heart. Your soul is going to flow from there. Your creativity is going to flow from there. Everything that you do is going to flow from there. So you got to realize and have discernment and understand what's going to flow from it, what is allowed, what is not allowed, and you got to guard it. You got to be on guard. Don't build walls. You got to be on guard. Now, the next thing is, it says above all else. When I think about above all else does not mean you put it last. Above all else means it comes first. So if you've ever heard me say, you have to put yourself first above the education system, I'm not just saying that because I just want to have this fancy slogan or this fancy saying. I'm saying that because everything you do is going to flow from your heart. Everything that you do in the education system will require the use of your mind and your body. And so above all else, everything that you do, you have to guard your heart. That means you don't answer the emails, you don't going to the school and do the lesson. You don't do all of that stuff first. You put yourself first. And the first thing you got to do is guard your heart, have discernment, understand what comes in and what goes out, understand what you say yes to, what you say no to, understand your capacity, which sometimes means you got to sit down and slow down and ask the question, what can I do in this season? What should I be doing away in this season? What should I carry in this season? What can I not carry in this season? So that way your stress stays low and your energy stays high. Think about your habits. Do your habits actually say that above all else, you are taking care of yourself first? Do your habits, your behaviors, do they say that above all else, everything else that you're doing, you are putting yourself above the education system, beyond the education system? Does that mean you're supposed to not be in excellence and work in excellence and move in excellence? No, it actually means that when you guard your heart, your excellence actually becomes something that doesn't have to be contingent on what you do for other people, and you just move in excellence because that's what you do. Whether you're helping somebody else or not, whether somebody else tells you good job or not, you will move in excellence anytime you are guarding your heart and making sure you're not moving beyond your capacity and looking for people to tell you that you're doing an excellent and amazing job. So in 2017, when my blood pressure went crazy while I was standing in the middle of my classroom, I realized that I had to start protecting my heart and guarding my heart above everything else that I was doing for the education system. I could no longer say, well, in this season or in this next season, this next school year, I got to make sure that I am putting the emails first, putting the IEPs first, putting the students first. None of that matters, okay, when your health is declining. None of that mattered in that moment when the school nurse told me that my blood pressure was through the roof. The first thing I thought about was my love, the love that I had for my children, the love that I had in my marriage. I thought about my personal life. I thought about my health. I thought about all the things that I still wanted to do in life. I didn't think nothing about that schoolhouse. I didn't think about the students. I didn't think about the emails, the parents, the responsibilities. I didn't think, oh my gosh, I need a sub for tomorrow. I didn't think about any of those things. The only thing I thought about was what my life was coming down to. If I were to lose my life, then what would happen to everything else around me that I love? So I had to start paying attention to my life, paying attention to my heart, paying attention to my how I was moving in my fitness, my finances, the fun that I had, how I was moving in the education system. All of that mattered. As an educator, I once measured success by how much did I get done? How many emails did I answer? How many students passed their tests? How many people did I lead? But after 2017, when I had that health scare, standing in the middle of my classroom, my new question back then and even up until today is what did everything getting done at that time in 2017 actually cost me? See, the thing is, I don't want to be successful in the front, in the limelight, where everybody sees me, where my colleagues see me, where the leaders see me. I want to be successful as well behind closed doors. When I'm alone, when I'm by myself, when I'm with my family, when I'm in my marriage, I have to be successful behind closed doors the same way that I am successful in the schoolhouse. And that's what guarding my heart has come to mean. It has come to mean more than just getting things done. It has become stewardship. How am I stewarding my time? How am I stewarding my relationships? How am I stewarding my career so that it does not interfere with what's happening in my personal life, with my health, with my finances, with my fitness, with my relationships at home? It matters how I steward my time, my capacity, my relationships in the schoolhouse so that I can be well, live well, be well outside of this. The schoolhouse, the education system is not responsible for my well-being. It is not responsible for your well-being. You are responsible for your own well-being. Now, listen, not everybody wants to quit education. There are some who want to quit. There are some who have quit. In fact, I quit at one point in time because I was burnt out and I stayed home for 2 school years. So understand, not everybody wants to leave the education system. There are people who love what they do, who enjoy the students. They have tough school years, but then they finish out and they reset. So my question to you is, what currently has access to you that might need a boundary? And I can guarantee you that the answer is you need to set a boundary between your work and your life, your work life and your home life. Both of them need to be separated, not setting a wall, but guarding, being a guard, being vigilant to what's occurring around you, the relationships, who's pulling from you, who's pulling your energy, what's causing you a lot of stress. So that way you can put a guard between you and that. You can be more cognizant of what's happening. You can have more clarity about how to move forward. And it is very much so possible. A lot of people are going to say, well, the education system is totally ruining my health, but I want to stay. If that is you, I want you to realize that Proverbs 4:23 reminds us that you have to guard your heart. And it says, above all else, guard your heart. Don't set a wall. Guard your heart. Allow some things in and some things out. That means setting a boundary between your work and your life. That means remembering that you can have clarity between who needs to be pulling from you and who shouldn't be. That means having clarity around your yeses and your nos. That means a lot, but it means you have to do the work. You cannot just sit by and allow the education system to do whatever it's going to do to you. You have to be an active participant and making sure you keep your stress low, your energy high, and keep guarding your heart above all else. Here's your journal prompt for today. What do I need to guard more intentionally in this season? And what would guarding it look like in practice? I want you to journal on that. That is going to help you tremendously. It allows you to slow down, to pay attention to what your body is saying. Sometimes when the school year begins, especially when you're at the beginning of the school year, all you are thinking about is getting things going. But even if it's the beginning of the school year when you're watching this, the middle of the school year, or the end of the school year, you have to be vigilant. Your body is always leaving you clues. It's always asking you to pay attention to it. Your mind and your body needs you. Everything in the education system is going to pull from your mind and your body, but you have to be vigilant in realizing what it is asking you for. And I believe that one thing that all of us as educators can completely 100% use is boundaries and making sure that above all else, we are guarding our hearts, just as the principle says in Proverbs 4:23. So I want you to share with me down below, what are your thoughts about Proverbs 4:23, that biblical principle that tells you that above all else, guard your heart. What are your thoughts about it? What should you do next? How will you maneuver next? And what will you do to make sure that above all else, you are guarding your heart this school year?